So in this video here, I'm going to explain how to zero a cutter into a top-loading rotary spindle on an engraving machine. Usually the rotary spindle from one machine to the next are pretty much the same in how it's done. This case here I have a Vision machine. It's a Max Pro version. But this should apply to pretty much any other engraving machine with a top-loading spindle and a floating head. It's important that you zero the cutter if you're looking to achieve an accurate depth into the material you're cutting, such as engraving plastic. Engraving plastic has a thin top coating laminate ranging anywhere from 3 thousandths on up to 12 or 15 thousandths. Once you zero a cutter, you can then dial in your depth mechanically on the spindle for a very accurate depth. So in this case here, I have a new cutter. First thing I do on a new cutter is I take the cutter wrench, which you need to have for the little set screw on the cutter knob, and I'll move it down, get it out of the way a little bit. The reason for that is I don't want the cutter to drop. I don't want to drop the cutter into the spindle and have it showing out the bottom as soon as I drop it in there. Next, I'm going to open up here, drop the cutter in. It's a left-hand thread, so you turn it down, give it a good tweak with your fingers, and that's it. Next step is you have a micrometer here, generally having 25 graduations on one full revolution. So you want to set that micrometer on 0. It's hard to see. You set that on 0, and you also want to make sure you have enough thread showing up here at the top, so you have room to play with on the micrometer to bring it up if you need to, like so. So I'm going to bring this down. It doesn't matter which 0. I'll go down a few turns, have it set on 0 there. So the next, I'll take this cutter out just for a second here, close this door, put it back in. Next, what you want to do is have a metal surface of any sort that you can drop your spindle onto. I prefer a metal surface. Some people use engraving plastic, but if you drop your cutter down onto engraving plastic, it could give you a false depth. Whereas metal, there's no forgiveness, so when you zero your cutter onto a piece of metal, you're getting it as accurate as possible. So the next step is to use your machine to jog your spindle over to the metal plate and drop it down until you touch the plate. Each machine is going to vary on how you jog it over there. So my machine here, bring it out here, jogging the XY. I'm going to drop the Z down until I know I'm touching it. I'm going to open up this door again. Next step is to loosen that set screw up here in the top. Drop the spindle down, drop the cutter down until you're touching the metal, and tighten that set screw. As I tell people, do not over tighten that set screw. It doesn't do you any good. I can raise the spindle now. So with this micrometer set on 0, my cutter is now zeroed on the bottom, so the cutter is flush with this nose. So if I turn this micrometer to the right, one click, I just exposed 1/1000th of cutter. So if I engrave now, I'm going to get 1/1000th of depth into my material. For standard engraving plastic, I usually tell people to start off at 10 clicks. It's usually sufficient for standard indoor plastic. And that's the end of this video.